like I was watching it and I was like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. And Spiderman came on and I was like 7. Like I lost my fucking gourd. Like I was so fucking excited. Got me a coffee.
Got me a coffee. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in again. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. We welcome a guest with the best name in the game, Spencer from Worldview and the Vancouver scene. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm happy that we could finally make this happen.
Yeah, of course. Spencer and I have been friends for many years, and I'm very excited to be chatting about hardcore, and we're gonna get nerdy on this podcast as well and talk superheroes and Marvel. Spencer,
I'm stoked, man.
Yeah. For the folks at home who might not know who you are, can you just give me a proper introduction of where you're based and the bands that you're a part of?
My name is Spencer McDonald. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm originally from Stony Plain, Alberta, town just outside of Edmonton. And I sing for a band called Worldview. We used to do lots of stuff. No, we don't do so much stuff, but we'll see if that changes sometime soon.
Yeah. Worldview, fun fact. I think Spencer knows this, but Worldview was the very first scope set that we ever put on the channel. So
yeah, man.
A band that
shit was fun.
Yeah, close to my heart. Before we get super into the conversation, Spencer, got to do the bev check. So I am hitting that like 1-2 o'clock nosedive as far as energy goes. So I'm rocking a Guru Organic.
What's it?
It's a organic energy drink, Canadian as well.
Very sick.
It's got 3 grams of sugar, so it's not just just doused in like a bunch of random. I'm not gonna have that sugar dive as soon as I finish that. So, what about you? What are you sipping on?
I support local coffee shops, so I swung by Mel Rich's and on Davie Street and got me a Sumatra blend.
Oh, so what's that?
Drinking just a big ass medium roast coffee.
Sorry, you said Sumatra and it sounded like matcha, so I was like, oh, what's a Sumatra?
No, Sumatra.
I have to, before we get super into it, I have to applaud Spencer for his palate as far as coffee goes in Vancouver, because I remember in 2019 is when DBK 5-year happened, and I remember on the event page you were like, okay, here are all the vegan places to check out, here's all the coffee, and I was walking to catch the train to get to the airport, and I am blanking, of course, on the name of the coffee shop that you were.
Where did I send you?
It's it starts with an A. There's 2 locations, but there's one that's kind of like in the suburbs, and then one that's closer to Stanley Park.
Oh, fuck. God damn it.
It has a roastery.
It's falling out of my head.
Yeah. Oh.
It's just falling out of my head. I used to work right by it. I totally forget. but yeah. Oh, fuck. What's it called? They have a location downtown too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm blanking so hard right now.
We'll try and come back to it.
You know what? No, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to ask my girlfriend. She knows. I'll be right back.
All right. Man, through the headphones.
Oh, I'm back.
He's back. With an answer?
Milano.
So
yes, Milano Roastery. They're from Vancouver. They roast everything here. It is literally the best coffee on earth. I can't believe I fucking forgot that.
I was like, I don't know if I'll cut this from the podcast. It's kind of dead air at this moment. But
no, man, it's totally fine. It's Milano. That shit's the best.
Yeah.
I used to work when I worked in the weed industry for a long time, and we had a warehouse near a Milano location. And when I was working at that warehouse, we would always roll over there. And we were just like, I would hit it like 4 or 5 days a week, and it was like fucking eating a cupcake. It was the fucking best.
Yeah, no, it is. You know, I feel like I want to do a coffee culture podcast with just tons of hardcore homies who love coffee and just plug all these different spots because
Peter from Dying Wish, he is the coffee guy.
Yeah. I know. I did a podcast with Lumpy from Sanction, and we probably talked more about coffee than we did about hardcore. Honestly,
very sick.
Well, Spencer, you've listened to 1 or 2 of these podcasts, so you kind of know the flow of how I like to get things started. So, let's do the Spencer McDonald origin story of hardcore. Tell me kind of how, growing up in Alberta, how you discovered some of those things and how that obsession just grew over time and put you on the path that you're on.
So I'm from like a pretty small town outside of Edmonton, but like 45 minutes west of Edmonton. I grew up on an acreage as an only child, so I didn't really get much exposure to heavy music except for like Linkin Park, because like the kid down the block listened to Linkin Park and was like, yo, you gotta fucking check this out, man. Yeah. And I just like dove in, and I was like Linkin Park super fan for the longest time. And then inevitably internet dial-up made its way out to the country. And I got to my dad discovered torrents. So he started like, yeah, it was like, my dad is like older, but like totally like a tech geek, but like a tech geek trucker. Like it's the weirdest shit ever. But he like just started torrenting like insane amounts of music, like anything he could get his hands on. He just like getting these huge collections. Like I bet you we had a terabyte of music before like 2005. Like it's fucking wild.
That's crazy.
And
most computers only have like 5 gigabytes of memory.
Yeah, and he was buying just like huge amounts of hard drives and like just filling up these hard drives with music and movies and shit. And he would just like fill up an iPod and like hand it to me, and I just like start listening to it. So I'd listen to fucking everything. And then I discovered Black Flag in particular, and I was like, this shit's like really crazy. Like what the fuck? And like I had never really heard anything that was really like recorded more raw. Like everything was really produced and whatever. So from there I hopped on the old dial-up and followed the road to YouTube and found the video of, I remember being like 11 and finding the video of Henry Rollins like punching that dude in front of the stage, like that dude like fucking with him and him just like hammering on him, and I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. And then I just kind of like, being in a small town, especially like moving through junior high and into high school, like there wasn't a lot of people who listened to heavy music at all. So I kind of ended up just listening to like whatever my friends were listening to, but listened to like a bunch of different deathcore bands and hardcore bands. And like, I imagine like most people in that age really did, like the internet age of hardcore.
Right. And
then once I was able to start going to shows and like getting into the city to see bands, I just like started going and discovered local Edmonton legends, E-Town Beatdown. And if you've never heard E-Town Beatdown, you need to listen to E-Town Beatdown. JFK, shout out to JFK. He's the coolest guy ever.
Hard shout out.
Yeah,
such a gem of a human.
He's the fucking man. He is a legend. But I remember seeing an E-Town Beatdown show and then just being like, this is actually the fucking coolest shit ever. And just dove in head first and started listening to like any and every band I possibly could. And I ended up over the years like meeting people out here, going to Rainfest and making more friends. And I ended up getting in a big car accident, and it kind of made me decide to make some stark decisions. So I dropped out of university and moved to Vancouver. And
Oh,
a few
wow.
months after moving to Vancouver, we started Worldview, and that's it. That's the story.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The roadmap has been laid out there. I wasn't sure when you were mentioning like small town Alberta. Like, my wife's family grew up in Fort Saskatchewan, which is just north of Sherwood Park there. So like,
Yeah.
I was curious on how close some of those things were.
So where I grew up, like the house I grew up in, is about an hour and a half southwest of Fort Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's like Fort Saskatchewan to the north, Leduc to the south, Sherwood Park to the east, Spruce Grove to the west, and then Stony Plain, which is the town that I like did shit in,
Yeah.
was it is west of Spruce Grove, and then I lived west of Stony Plain, so I was
I
like
understand.
way out there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one Alberta, like, small town person who's freaking out with all these small town name drops here. So I don't know if I didn't know that you got in a car accident, and I didn't know that that was kind of a indicator to propel you to kind of make a life switch. So do you mind sharing the why behind that? I'm kind of just curious myself.
Like why I decided to make the switch.
Yeah, was it like you were in the accident and you're like, yeah, like I don't want to just waste time at school, or like that's kind of
That's Yeah, man. That's like literally it. I was coming home from work. I was off my first year of university. I was on summer break, and I had an internship at the city of Edmonton. And I was working in the transportation department, just doing like data entry stuff.
yeah.
And I was on my way home from work, and I was just like went under an underpass, and or under an overpass, and the truck ahead of me just like veered off to the right hand side, and a dude just barreled into me,
Oh,
and
wow.
like head on. It turned out that like he had a stroke and like passed through the ditch, and it was like this whole freak accident
Oh, okay.
sort of situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like the moment that we made contact and I realized that I wasn't dead. I was like, yo, I'm wasting my fucking time. Like I gotta go do something that I actually want to do,
Yeah.
because that could have been it. Like I totally could have
Yeah.
just been like fucking jam. And instead I was just like really stiff and appreciative of what I had. So I
Yeah.
so I decided to make some moves and came out this way.
Yeah. And I'm like was Vancouver kind of like on your radar before that?
Oh,
Like,
a
I'll do
hundred
this
percent.
for a few years, but then I might want to move out there. But it was like, no, I gotta do this now because life is so fragile in that sense.
Yeah, man. I was um, I was kind of at a point. Well, I went on tour with Slumlord. They took me like across Canada into Europe, and then after that, I was like, yeah, I need to bail. Like, I need to really live my life and do things that I want to do, and do things for me, like not do things just because I feel like I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And I ended up like Taylor Stewart was like one of my best friends on planet Earth. Love him more than anything. Um, he's living out here, and I just felt like isolated from my friends, man. I just like wanted to be closer to people that I felt close to.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I made the move and I took off and just like packed my shit up and stayed with my friend Kyla for a few months, and then moved from shitty house to shitty house until I was settled. And it's been the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's pretty crazy on how a lot of people like live their lives kind of like in this like I can't be touched, and I have all this runway ahead of me, but then as soon as there's like a health scare or some kind of, it's like rethinking every decision when it's like, well, if you just thought about like doing what makes you happy versus like, oh, I have to go to school for 6 years and then I can start my passion or move to this city that I've always wanted to. So
Yeah, man. I firmly believe that like if you really want something to happen for you, you'll make it happen, like no matter what.
Yeah.
And like if you are educated or undereducated or like just like looking for a change or whatever, just like do whatever you need to do because you need to do it, you know? Like there's no point in just like sitting back and hoping that things get better, because like hoping's not going to change shit. You gotta like go do the fucking thing.
Straight up.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just made a change, and it was the best decision. I got my band out of it, I got my girlfriend out of it, I got my cool ass cat Gary out of it. I get to live in like what is like the most beautiful city on earth. It's like it's the shit. It's the best. So just
Yeah.
like do stuff for yourself.
Yeah. And you know, things take, you know, time to like and work to realize and come to fruition. But it's a lot easy. Like I'm thinking about my conversation with Jem from Speed, and he was like, it's so easy to do nothing. It's so easy to just
Oh
to
yeah,
throw
man.
it in neutral and coast and like live in the same city and do these things. And sometimes it's
Absolutely.
like if you have it in your gut to move to the other side of the world or like start a band or like, you know, whatever it is, like follow those inclinations and act up on it. Yeah.
Yo, like most people, like 99% of people, like don't do shit. Like they don't want to do shit. Like they just want to like have everything kind of roll through and be easy. And unfortunately, that's not reality. And those people are gonna like, if you choose to do something that seems difficult, people are gonna like tell you not to do it because to them it's a waste of time because it's different and it's outside their comfort zone.
Right.
So just like always keep in mind that like you're the first thing you're gonna hear from people is that like it's stupid and you're making a bad decision.
Yeah.
And like take a step back and like, do you think it's a bad decision? Because like if you don't, you're probably making the right decision for yourself. Like just go do the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like fuck what Ted down the block thinks. Like what the fuck is he gonna do anyway? He's just gonna like die in his old house and do nothing. Like who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I love the vibes that this podcast is set off to. So to transition it back on the hardcore end of things. So you moving to Vancouver, you know, shortly after that, like Worldview started. Can you talk to me just like kind of the origins of that and, you know, how the band has, you know, like you were saying at the beginning, was really active and then kind of went away and then kind of came back, but like less active. Like walk me through the whole the bend of
ebbs and
that.
flows.
The ebbs and flows.
So I was just like jamming with Taylor one night and nothing was like really coming of it. And I was driving back to Vancouver from his house in North Van, and Andy, our guitar player, texted me. And like Andy and I were friends, but like didn't know each other like super, super, super well. I just like know him through Rainfest, and he had like let me crash on his floor a couple times while traveling and shit. And he was just like, "Hey man, I'm jamming with a couple guys, and we're wondering if you'd like to come like sing for this project. Know that you're like kind of into that." And I was like, "For sure, I'll come jam." And went and jammed like a week or so later, and that was that. And it was just like it was a bunch of songs from the demo, and I thought it was like the coolest shit ever, and I was really stoked. So I never got to sing for a band, and it's something I always wanted to do. So we made it happen, and yeah, man, we just like kind of decided when we were doing the whole thing that like if we were gonna like start it out, we were gonna start it out right. And we had like all of our merch together, and we had the demo done, and we had like a show booked, and we played or like a little mini tour booked where we had like our first show was with Cruel Hand in Vancouver, and then we played a bunch of shows with Stepping Stone and Mortality Rate, or a couple shows with Stepping Stone and Mortality Rate in Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, and then we just tried to do like as much as we possibly could. Like we wanted to be like the band that did stuff, so we just did as much as we could for as long as we could. And inevitably like we got to play like tour a little bit in the US and go down the West Coast and play for the children, and that was really crazy. and then, you know, people get busy, and life gets in the way, and like people get stressed, and Jeff decided to kind of leave the band for a while, and he took off, and things just weren't quite the same after that. And like I loved playing with Riley. Like big shouts out to Riley who filled in for drums on it for us, and Brad. Like Brad Collis is one of the most fun people I've ever spent time with my entire life. But like shouts out to Brad for like filling in a guitar. And but after Jeff left, like Andy decided to leave, and things just like weren't the same after that. Andy has been in Worldview as like my writing partner. We wrote lyrics together. We like bounced ideas back and forth. And as soon as he was gone, it just wasn't quite, definitely just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So we played that last show. We took a break, and then when 333 was closing, we decided to come back and play a set, and it was like a ton of fun because we had all the original guys back together, and everybody was in a better place, and everybody was a little bit more settled and comfortable and ready to do stuff. So we're just kind of tinkering on stuff and not putting too much pressure, but working on things now, and just try to be semi-active and see what happens.
Yeah, I think like there's there's almost people think that they need to rush to like either be the most active band in their scene or they have to break up. And sometimes it's okay to have actual breaks and change the activity levels of a band. Like no one's going to be mad. Like I don't think anyone's like, I think more people would be stoked that Worldview is still around versus like, no, we're like never playing a show again. So
yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel too, man. Like I think that like Worldview as a band has always just been really fun. Like everybody's just had a lot of fun at our shows, as far as I can tell, at least, or as far as I think. Like and I think that's like fun is few and far between these days, and don't really get to like do cool shit with my friends anymore. Like I'm fucking working at 2 jobs and busting my ass doing whatever. So when you have those opportunities, I think it's important to take them. And I think we all kind of realize that a little bit more, and have been making moves to spend more time with each other and do more stuff and write more things. And yeah.
Are you guys currently in the midst of working on something, or is it like, because I feel like a lot of people are trying to navigate this weird time of like, should we release music? Should we wait to release music so we can play those songs more timely to when shows come back? Or what's going on behind the scenes that you can share?
I think we're probably going to record something relatively soon. We have like a backlog of songs that we played for years that never got recorded. Yeah. And we'd like to put out nice versions of those for people to hear, and give them their due. So I think that'll happen pretty soon. Relatively soon.
Yeah. That makes me curious now, because there's, I would say I wouldn't say there's double digits of Worldview sets on the Scope channel, but there's a good, maybe 6, 7, 8. But yeah, it ranges from songs of the demo to the 3-song release that you guys did. So yeah, I'm more than game to hear any new Worldview stuff, because like I said before, that band is always gonna have a little small piece of my heart as far as the early days of Scoped. So that's sick.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked too.
Do you have a favorite Worldview moment, kind of from all the stuff that you were doing early on, or even just like kind of when you guys came back and did the 3-3 show?
I think, yeah, man. I think my favorite Worldview moment is forever gonna be the coming back at the last 3-3 show. Like it wasn't just for us. Like Oath played a reunion that was fucking banging. Vacant State played, it was fucking banging. Woolworm, best band in Canada, played, it was fucking banging.
Right.
And Open Letters played as well. That's a very cool band.
Right.
But when I came out and I saw that it was just like a sea of my friends, like it was literally just like 300 people like stuffed into a garage to just like have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was like not a like sad face in the building. It was just like, I don't know, it was just an unmatched moment. It was really cool. It was really like sweet to see the love. It was really like special. And I'm really happy that Tony asked us to play that show, because like that's like one of my fondest memories.
Yeah, that's very sick. So we've talked about hardcore for almost 25 minutes here, and I feel like we're gonna talk for probably more than that on this next subject.
Hit me with it.
Anyone who knows you knows that you're very interested and passionate around comic books, superheroes, Marvel, kind of all those things. So before we have some bantering and some fruitful discussions, just tell me how you got put onto that. Was that early on, or was that later in life for you?
That has been since I was like an eensy weensy, knee high to a grasshopper, fucking ear of corn. But like, my dad was a jock and like a musician, but he was like a secret comic nerd, and he has this like obscene collection of comics. Like he has all these old like Ghost Rider from the 60s or from the 70s. He has like a ton of Conan runs, like full Conan runs, bunch of X-Men and Spiderman. And I just love those fucking characters, man. Like he would, when I was a kid and, you know, they're trying to like get you to read, like that's how he got me to read, was he was like, look at these like crazy splash pages and like appreciate like this dude getting his ass kicked, but also like check out the cool story, you know?
Right.
Like, and I just like fell madly in love with it, man. Like I just couldn't put them down. Like I bet you by the time I was like 10, I had read like 300 or 400 comics and was like,
wow. Dang.
Dude, I would sit there, like I would go to bed and I would just like sit in bed and read like 20 comics, like just read one after the other, just like cream through them.
Right.
And yeah, and it just like stayed with me forever. And like it's like a really formative part of like who I am. Like I truly believe that like characters like the X-Men and like Spider-Man and the X-Men in particular, like really formed a lot of like my morals and like how I view the world, and how I I feel like you kind of have like an obligation to your community. Like you have to like ensure that like people are taken care of and people are okay, and like, you know, like you got to be like responsible for the people around you. You gotta, you know, be open to criticism.
Yeah.
And all that shit's just like, I don't know, I feel like those are life lessons that people really like, lots of people don't take from comics because they just think it's like some ridiculous fucking story just to like get some kid to spend $2. But like these were guys who like really wanted to like put love into what they were doing, and like and that's like still going on, where they're writing like, you know, stories where the Punisher's telling cops to take the fucking Punisher logo off of their cars because that's not what a cop's supposed to be. And like, there's stories where like, you know, Tony Stark has to like confront the fact that he works for a weapons company and they are like selling weapons to people who are using it against civilians. And like, you know, like those aren't things that like kids get taught. Like parents don't want to talk to their fucking kids about that shit. So like, it's way easier to let like Iron Man look like a bad guy for a comic and then be like, maybe I was wrong. Yeah. Than it is to like, I didn't address that shit. You know what I mean?
No, that's actually a huge point there, because a lot of stuff in school, or like your parents are like, okay, I'm going to sit you down, I'm going to tell, like a lot of like there's not a captive audience there. A lot of it is just like, okay, I got to be in this class for the next 55 minutes, and I'm just gonna let all this kind of go over my head or in one ear and out the other. But when you have creativity in the mix of things, whether that's through music or through comics, it like gets people in the door, and then they're like captive to what is being told, either story wise or what have you, and then it actually like soaks in way harder. So no, I never thought of a Marvel comic talking about like police brutality through the Punisher's eyes. That's very interesting.
Dude, like they have tons of shit like that. Like that's what 100% what the X-Men was built on. That's why they were created. Like they were supposed to be a diverse group of heroes. And they directly address like anti-Semitism. That is the backstory of Magneto. That's why like Magneto is supposed to be like, or is one of the coolest villains of all time, because he's not wrong. Like he has this innate fear because he watched his people get exterminated of it happening again, and he sees the mechanisms that make that happen. So it like addresses like just the othering of people in the way, like in the X-Men universe you have like anti-mutant groups who like want to have them exterminated or have their like powers taken from them, and like they want to commit genocide, and that's like not something that anybody ever talked to me about. Like that's not something that they like taught in fucking junior high and in Stony Plain, Alberta. Like fuck no. But I had an understanding of it because of these comics. I was like, oh, okay, these are things that happen to people, and these are things that like you have to pay attention to and understand and kind of like, be open to, because it's like a lived experience that can make a magnet guy go crazy.
I've never heard Magneto be compared or described as the magnet guy.
Yeah, he's a magnet guy.
But
man.
That is true, yeah. So I'm sure this is a level 1 question for you, and I'm sure it's burning on everyone's lips who's listening. But top 3 Marvel movies. Go.
Top 3 Marvel movies. I'm gonna go with. Damn, you really put me on the spot here. I'm gonna go with Captain America: Winter Soldier, because it's like a fucking incredible like spy movie. Like it's such a good spy movie.
Yeah. Hard agree on that one.
I'm gonna go with Civil War because I got to see Spiderman for the first time and I lost my fucking shit. And
definitely stole the entire movie. Just as soon as he was on screen, I was like, I don't care about anyone else.
It was like I was watching it and I was like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. And Spider-Man came on and I was like 7. Like I lost my fucking gourd. Like I was so fucking excited. Right. And then I would say Blade 2, baby. That's a Marvel movie. That's true. That shit is fucking awesome. That movie, if you are like if you are into like cinema, like you're into like how things are filmed and cool shots and good makeup and the whole nine, like Blade 2 is directed by Guillermo del Toro and it's fucking nuts. It's the shit. Yeah. Like if you want like a great Halloween movie where a bunch of vampires get blowed up, that's the one. It's sick.
Well, this podcast is going to come out right before Halloween, so that plug is very timely. So I had we prior to this podcast we were talking about doing this little game. So I'm trying to bridge the Marvel universe and the hardcore universe. So I have 3 bands here. And what I'm going to do is I'll say the band, and then you say either a superhero or supervillain that is, within either would like be most likely to be listening to that band, or you would catch that person or hero or villain at that like, band show.
who I would associate
Yes.
with that band.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
word.
So so I tried to keep them as universal, but threw in some Canadian, threw in some bands that you would know pretty closely.
Hit me with it.
But the first is Madball.
Oh, Madball. Madball is the Thing from Fantastic Four, like 100%. Like smoking cigars. He's big and fucking tough as shit. And he's like 100% a Hoya Rock. Like he's
right.
The Thing, 100%.
Yeah, and he's just orange. I think that matches with one of their album covers as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
They he's always like in it, like when he's out in public, he's like in a trench coat and a hat, like smoking a fucking cigar and like in his big blue pants. Like he's fucking sick. Yeah.
I did this not this specifically, but I did something similar with another band. I'm curious if any of these bands are gonna listen to that, but I think that's a great choice. The Thing is definitely a hero that a lot of people know, so I'm curious if you pull in some obscure ones that I don't even know about. The next band I have here is Hands of God from California.
Ooh, that's a good one. Who?
It's like the meme where
Yo,
it's all the equations going over Spencer's face.
Yeah, actually, like 100%. Because I want to be accurate, man. Because like there's so many to choose from,
Yeah.
Like I'd say Hands of God is like 100%, in my opinion, the Prowler, who is like a Spider-Man villain that was like, I think they introduced like in Spider-Verse.
Yep.
He's like he's a thief. He's like hard as fuck. He's like fast and brutal, and yeah, I think that fits the vibe.
Yeah, that's a really good choice. I wasn't sure where you're gonna go there, but Prowler expect like Spider-Verse Prowler for sure. That's a good choice. So I have a last one here, but if you want to keep going, we can just fill time. But the last one,
you can hit me with as many as you want.
The last one I have here is Misery Signals. So a nice little Canadian addition to the list.
Oh, the boys. Damn, that's a tough one.
Trying to combine the metalcore and the spacey, melodic elements.
You know what? I'm gonna give you an answer just because I know Stu is gonna be happy with it. I'm just gonna say the Punisher, because that's Stu's absolute favorite.
He'll be stoked on that.
Yeah. But in reality, they're like kind of sad. They're like, yo, I'm gonna say Nightcrawler. They're like a mad Nightcrawler band. They're like, they're like really, really technical. They're all over the place. They're like changing speed, left, right, and center, and they're moody. Yeah. So I think that's a good fit.
That's very cool. It's not on the list, but if you had to name one for worldview, what would be the act there?
Oh fuck. The fucking, I don't know, Omega Red, the commie fucking X-Men villain. Oh. He's like Russia's attempt at the super soldier, but he has to like drain the life out of people in order to survive.
Yeah, that does sound very View Crew.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned it a couple times, and this is where the discussion between you and I comes into play. But you're a big Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
Would you say Spider-Man is probably your favorite superhero of all time?
100%. 100%.
Okay. So I have to say the same for me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Batman, because it's most realistic. Like Spider-Man has been, if I was going to be anybody powers wise, it's definitely him. So the time of the recording this, there's been some news that's come out as far as a real life
You're gonna hit me with it, aren't you?
So I know.
Fuck.
Well, okay, let's break it down first, because I think that I've seen some differing of opinions as far as, Spider-Man, to be fair, is the only, or one of the only hero movies that has all these different adaptations. So they have their different fan bases, people that swear by certain ones. So I'll let you go first to, I guess, say what your favorite Spider-Man, favorite Peter Parker, and why, and we'll go down the rabbit hole.
Honestly, my favorite Spider-Man is Tom Holland.
Okay.
I think he does the best job of one, he like looks the part. Two, he's a great Peter Parker. Like, he's kind of coy, he's really anxious and like nervous, and like Peter Parker's not supposed to be fucking cool. That's like why I hated the Andrew Garfield version. Is like it's like nah, this dude like listens to the Misfits and like skateboards and like it like has cool hair and like fuck, like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like that's not Spider-Man, man. That's like the dude Spider-Man like got beat up by. But and I just like hate Tobey Maguire. Like, I just think he's like a huge pussy. Like, that character is just like, his version of it is just like just the worst. Like, he's just the worst Peter Parker ever. Like, Spider-Man 2, like, I will say, like, Spider-Man 2 is a fucking really good superhero movie. Mm-hmm. But like, so is the Daredevil director's cut. But like being a good superhero movie doesn't make you like the best of the character. And yeah, like Tom Holland, like 100%, like he's the fucking man. Like, he's killing it.
So there are things that I agree with you and disagree with you. So I definitely think that Andrew Garfield, like, that series of Spider-Man movies was definitely the weakest. I think Tom Holland, from like a young Spider-Man, makes the most sense, and like the vibe is there. I grew up on all of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man flicks, as I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah,
so I think
100%.
I try to remove the nostalgia glasses, but I think that I can see where people point out the flaws with Tobey Maguire's performance in certain movies, but I think as far as the actual cinematic experience with Sam Raimi and how he has taken things with when he was doing Evil Dead and applying like the scene where Dr. Octopus is like killing all these like nurses and doctors when they're trying to amputate the arms, is like,
I'm not saying that there's like bad scenes. Like, I'm not saying that it's like
I
all
know,
bad,
I know.
like at all. But the best, nah, like sorry. It's like there's a few issues I have with it, you know. Yeah. Like I will forgive them for the third movie, because I know that the third movie was like fucked with by producers, and like there was like a bunch of shit going on there.
Everyone wanted to push Venom when originally it was just supposed to be Sandman as a solo flick. So
yeah. And and then we didn't get the John Malkovich fucking Vulture because of that, because that movie flopped, which fucking sucks. But I just think that like Spider-Man 2 was fucking a good movie for sure, 100%. But comparing it to what I'm personally like looking for out of a Spider-Man movie, where I really want it, I don't necessarily want it to be a cinematic experience. Like, I want it to be a comic book on screen. Like, that's like what I really, really like. That's like why I like Endgame. That's why I like Civil War, is because like those shots and like the way that they set everything up is like, so it looks like a comic panel. Like, it, like 100%. That's why you can see like all of the heroes like lined up on an angle running towards each other. Like, who lines up like that? Like, nobody. you do it so it looks like cool as fuck on the fucking, you know, cover of something. And like, and so like I feel like they, in that era of filmmaking in general, like they tried like way too hard to like ground everything. And they wanted to remove the comic bookiness of things, but like that's what makes it cool, man. Let it be surreal, like let it be crazy. Like, the craziness is what makes it fun. Like Yeah, so like that's why I like the Tom Holland ones, man. Like they're like a comic book.
Yeah, I think like I think the thing that gets lost with me sometimes is a lot of movies nowadays is like heavily reliant on lots of like the animation, CGI, and the more tech.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the take on Vulture in Homecoming, where it's like he kind of came off of like the Avengers, so like okay, like I can empathize with him in some cases. It's not just like I'm just a big monster and I'm attacking Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
there was that connection, but you know, it was like, okay, he's not an actual Vulture, like kind of like cross-human kind of thing. There's like some technical side. I was like, okay, I can get that. But then in the second movie where it's like all like VR and stuff, I was like, can we get back to like, there needs to be a balance of both, in my opinion. That's why I look at the Tobey Maguire, like, you know, the Green Goblin and Doc Ock and like, again, I try to remove Venom from the equation and only focus on Sandman, because Sandman is kind of the saving grace of that movie, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So best and worst Spider-Man flicks to kind of package this section.
Best and worst. Fuck. I'd say the best one in my opinion is Homecoming. Like I think Homecoming's fucking awesome. Then I'll say Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2 is like a rad movie. Like you get like, they actually do have like a couple classic panels in Spider-Man 2, like Spider-Man lifting the building and the water.
Yeah.
Like, that's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
Like very, very sick, but doesn't make it number one. And then you know what, man? I'm gonna say The Amazing Spider-Man. I actually really liked the Spider-Man parts of those movies. Like when
Wait, you're saying
the
as
swing,
your third or your bottom of the barrel?
No, as my third.
Oh.
As like 100%. Like I actually really, really like the Spider-Man portions of that movie. I think he's a terrible Peter Parker, but as Spider-Man, he's fucking awesome. Like the dialogue that they wrote for him was really, really strong. The swing mechanics that they had going on in that movie looked really, really good.
Yeah.
They like, you know, like I wasn't into like the dubstep electro fight, which is like the weirdest thing of all time.
Yeah.
I don't understand who fucking greenlit that, but like I don't know who like decided that movie needed like Skrillex. It's the weirdest shit ever. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But it was like, they're fun though. Like they're really, and they're like they're nice to look at. Like they're nice to watch. Like the fights are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. If I had to do one for myself, I think why Spider-Man 2 works so well is it's one of the only adaptations that shows how heavily Spider-Man struggles with living a normal life and being Spider-Man. So it's like, he goes and saves someone, he gets evicted. He misses, like he goes to see a play, then a building burns down. So there's like all this like you can't have both.
The duality.
You can't have your cake and eat it. You need to have like, you need to make a choice. So like he makes a choice, hangs up the webs for a bit, and then comes back. So that's why I love that movie so much. So that would be my number one. I would say probably Amazing Spider-Man 2 with it's almost like number 3 with the amount of villains that are actually in that movie with Rhino.
Yeah. Oh man, I always forget about that like weird ass Paul Giamatti Rhino.
Yeah, well,
it's
like, he's literally at the beginning and at the end of the movie, and
it's so weird.
It's very strange. I would love an entire Spider-Man movie that's only Rhino, but
I hate when they do like the mech suit for Rhino. Like I love when it's like a fused suit, because that was like a theme in Spider-Man for a long time, where they would like Scorpion had like a suit that was fused to his body, and like Rhino had a suit that was fused to his body, and like I don't know. I don't know why they haven't like done a good job making Oscorp the villains yet, because they're like so easy to make the villain.
I will
But-
say as a what's that called? As an honorable mention would be the storyline in the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game.
Oh, dude.
I don't
That-
own a
if-
PlayStation, but I've watched
Yo.
the cutscene reel on YouTube many times because I love how they put that together.
That game is like beyond good. Like it is, if we're talking like best versions of Spider-Man, like that's probably the best version of Spider-Man. If you're like somebody who's like doesn't get it, has never been into it, and like wants to get into it, or like wants to like see what the hype is about, or like why fucking two grown-ass men are like ranting about Spider-Man, play that game. Like
Straight up, yeah.
It's like a fulfilling experience. Like you, like the mechanics on it are crazy. Like you get to feel like your gut drops when you swing around. Like you get to do all this like wild shit. You get to like really experience like what the city's like, and like how he experiences the city, and like they really show off his relationships and like how that like impacts his work as Spider-Man and whatever. And it's just fucking awesome. Like it's so good. I was working at a bar when I got that game. So I was getting home at like 3 a.m. every night, and I would just like sneak in the house and like sneak into our little apartment and like lock the door and just like not even take my shoes off, just like sit down and like plug my headphones into the fucking controller and play Spider-Man till like 7 a.m. And like I was addicted, man. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Obviously one Spider-Man movie that neither of us have really mentioned, and I feel like is in a tier of its own, is Spider-Verse. So it's like I would even give that above Spider-Man 2 for me, just because of how enjoyable of a film that is, and how many different 100%. Things it hits on. It's the whole, going back to the original point of this whole section, where there's rumors, at least right now, of like a live action Spider-Verse. What are your thoughts there from being an avid Spider-Man fan?
It makes me want to kill myself. I hate that idea so much. I think that's the stupidest fucking idea. I think that's like really like just like casual fan service. I think it's like because like people on the internet are like, oh, this would be cool, and like the nostalgia train is always just so intense.
Right.
Like
all aboard.
Yeah, dude, fuck. Like classic like Sony producers, like if there's two people that I want to like totally shit talk on planet Earth from like till the day I die, it's Avi Arad and Amy Pascal. They're two producers for Sony Pictures, and they can both go fuck themselves. I hate them so much.
Is Avi Arad the one that was like he's obsessed with Venom? Is that the right guy that I'm thinking about?
I think it's Avi Arad, yeah. And Amy Pascal just like shoehorns like as much bullshit into everything as she possibly can, and she's the person where like a scriptwriter will work like 10 years on like a perfect script and bring it in and be like, here's my masterpiece. Like, let's go make $1 billion. And she'll be like, I don't know. No, maybe it needs to be PG-13. He's like, no, it can't be PG-13. It'll ruin the whole movie. And she's like, but then we can make toys. And like, that's it. Yeah. So like she turns everything into this like a property to like maximize profits, and it ruins fucking everything. That's why like I'm terrified for this next Spider-Man movie. I think it's gonna be terrible.
We're since we can hit on all the stuff. Did you watch Venom? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts on that adaptation in the Spider-Man realm of things?
I'd rather not recognize it as like existing, but it's awful. It's like it's I don't know, it's really bad. Like I don't understand how you can even have that character without Spider-Man. Like I don't understand how like Venom even looks the way he does without Spider-Man. Right. Like it doesn't make sense, because like the character in the comics, like Venom isn't isn't actually like a villain. Like he doesn't commit crime, and he doesn't like attack there's versions of him that like attack people on the street because he needs like energy to survive, but he's like a benevolent being. Like his race exists to enhance whoever it lands on. Right. So when he like lands on Spider-Man, he's like, holy fuck, like this dude's like really, really powerful. So if we bond, like give 100% bond, I'll make him like incredibly powerful and we'll be able to protect this planet. But he has like, you know, a more violent way of doing things. He's like he's a more aggressive spirit, and being rejected by his host is what like made him like angry towards Spider-Man. Like that's why he hates Spider-Man, is like he was rejected and he doesn't understand why he was rejected. Yeah. So to have that character exist in San Francisco, like what the fuck is up with that? Like, right. Like that's the never meeting Peter Parker, never like gaining that kind of ire for Spider-Man. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Like it's like a waste of a character. It made me so fucking mad. It's like I'm sure Todd McFarlane was like totally ashamed. Like his character was just like destroyed on screen again.
Yeah, like it's such a weird thing with like lots of superhero movies, or like, you know, it's the first go. Like people are like literally sharing trailers being like, please don't suck, because there's a fear or almost a paranoia with fans who have grown up reading comics or like playing these characters in like GameCube games, where it's like these characters mean a lot to me, and all these corporate bigwigs want to throw their, you know, little spin on things, but it like doesn't apply to the source material, or a number of different things that just get so messy.
Avi Arad and Amy Pascal were like one of the reasons that movie like fucking got so weird and shitty. It was originally being shot as an R-rated feature. Yeah. And that's why Tom Hardy's performance is like so dark. And like that's why he's like kind of like more brooding, and like he's making like really dry humor. And then like the camera will turn where he's like not on screen because they went back and did a bunch of reshoots to try and make it PG-13. Yeah. And the guy on the other side's like doop-de-doo, whoop-a-doo-whoop-a-boo, like just like cracking like 100 jokes, and then it spins back to Tom Hardy and he's just like and like walks away. Yeah. And like it's literally two different movies put together so that they could try to make it like palatable to a larger audience, and it just like butchered it. Yeah. Like that's what those two people do. Like Venom is a perfect example.
Yeah. Like even in the more action fight scenes, like when I'm blanking on the other symbiote's name. It's Riot.
Who was that? Yeah, Riot.
Yeah, when he like grows the giant scythe arms and goes like this, like there's nobody getting cut in half. It's just like, ugh. Like it's just like it falls flat many times.
Yeah.
The
and
only
it sucks
sorry, you go.
No, sorry, my bad. I was gonna say it sucks because that's like a really classic like symbiote versus symbiote move. Like Carnage does that all the time. Like he'll turn like his hands into like battle axes and like go after like somebody. And like it sucks that they had like some of the I think like some of the animation and stuff was like really good and looked really cool, but like Lost Fit was like so ridiculous. Like I the gratuitous motorcycle moment like I wanted to throw up. Like
when he's flying like,
like it's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Like it's insane.
And even just the fact that like you were mentioning, like thinking of how gruesome and all like intense some of those scenes would be, of Venom biting someone's head off and all these things, when it's like, have you seen the numbers for Deadpool? Like those movies work. Man. Like I don't understand why they stray from the path in that regard.
Or like look at TV right now, man. Like you've got like Preacher, which is a comic book series. It's a fucking awesome comic book series. If you want something that's like not superhero fucking oriented and just has like a really cool story, Preacher's a fucking great option. The TV show is really good too. Legion.
Have you watched The Boys?
Yeah, The Boys, dude,
Yeah.
fucking rocks ass. Like,
yeah,
The Boys, fucking, it's great. And The Watchmen, like, they're all like adult features for comic book franchises. So like, I don't understand why these people think that they aren't going to make money and it's not going to be successful. Like The Watchmen was like, it's an HBO show and was like, I'm one of the most watched shows on earth last year. Like, I think if your movie was one of the most watched movies on earth just because it had like fucking Wolverine chopping a dude's arm off, or like it was like way more like intense or like true to the character, you'd be fucking stoked. So like just do the thing. Like stop having movies, stop making movies that suck.
Straight up. Well, you know, we've officially hit the hour mark here. So we should probably start thinking about wrapping up the show here. But the last portion of the podcast here that we always do is a favorite Mosh story that you can tell. So it doesn't need to necessarily be something like you dunking on someone or someone dunking on you, something that happened at a Worldview show. Whatever is the first thing that comes to your mind is how we end things here.
Favorite Mosh story. You know what? My favorite Mosh story is how I met Taylor.
Please.
I went to MazFest in where was MazFest? Regina?
Saskatoon.
It was in Saskatoon. So I went to MazFest in Saskatoon, and a friend pointed Taylor out, was like, "Hey, don't go mosh with that guy." And at this time, I was like a big boy. Like I was like a pretty hefty dude, and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "He's from New York, and he will mosh your ass off." Right. And I was like, "He won't mosh my ass off." And then we just like, what was that band called? Code Red, which was like, I think they were from Seattle. They were like a straight edge band from Seattle. Okay. They were playing, and we both like went and moshed for Code Red and just like beat each other's ass. It was like just us. And then we were just like, "Hey, you're pretty cool." And that was it. And it's just like one of my favorites.
Then you played in a band together, did shows together.
Just fucking do all sorts of shit together, man. Yeah. We go on trips up the coast together. It's fucking sick. That's so yeah. It's that's my favorite story, man. 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's even funnier knowing, you know, being close with Taylor as well and having him on the podcast as well. So things have come full circle here on the on those things. Well, Spencer, like I hope we haven't punished everybody here with
we punished everybody. We lost everyone halfway through, like 100%.
They're like, wait, he said this is his favorite Spider-Man movie? Turn it off.
No, they're gonna be like, shut the fuck up.
Well, I think we did okay. You know, I know a full podcast that only talk about superheroes, so I think, you know, this is the maybe the one exception. Is there anything that you want to plug here? Anything that you want to direct people to check out after this podcast? Whatever you want to share, the floor is yours.
You know, I want to give a shout out to my hardcore Illuminati, the big mans. They're, you know, we're out here. And I want to say donate to Hogan's Alley Society, which is, you know, is a charity here in Vancouver that tries to retain Black history in Vancouver and let people know about how Hogan's Alley was relocated and how, you know, the Black community in Vancouver has been dispersed and that history is not taught to anybody. So help those people out.
Yeah. Do you know a handle if someone's
you know what?
got their phone handy?
I will send you the handle.
It'll be in the description.
In the comments. Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, Spencer, thanks again for coming on and jamming with me and talking Spider-Man and hardcore and everything in between those things.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Thanks for letting me drink a coffee and smoke weed and wake up with you.
Of course.